everyone! Welcome to the channel dedicated to sharing the profound insights and wisdom of Andromedan contactee Alex Collier. If you're new here, you're in for a journey that expands your mind and consciousness, bringing you closer to understanding the messages from the fifth density Andromedan extraterrestrials. For those returning, we're grateful for your continued support. Before we dive into today's enlightening content, we have a small favor to ask. If you find value in the knowledge shared in this video, please consider hitting that like button, subscribing to our channel, and clicking the bell icon so you never miss an update. Your engagement helps us amplify Alex Collier's message, allowing us to reach a larger audience with these vital messages. We'd also love to hear from you, so please engage with the comments below. Whether it's a question, your thoughts, or even just an emoji for the sake of engagement, every comment counts. We read every single comment, and your feedback is incredibly valuable to us. Additionally, if you'd like to support us further, consider giving a super thanks tip by clicking the heart with the $sign. This small gesture allows us to continue bringing you more of Alex's messages, unfiltered and directly from his lifelong experiences with the Andromedans. Now sit back, relax, and enjoy today's video.
Hi, everybody. On behalf of James, JP, and myself, welcome to webinar number 50. Amazing. I am at the library, but I'm in a different room, a closet, basically with a window. Listen, we have a lot to cover today, and I'm actually sort of excited. Now they have on various levels begun their mentorship programs. Okay, and at this point, that's all I know. The other two are in the process of being freed. One is a very small solar system in Pegasus, and then of course there's us. We're the caboose, apparently. And Mornay told me that when that other conflict is done, and I guess we're there, those resources will be coming here. Now, I want you to know that in our solar system, it's a shitstorm out there. Okay, we have an alliance of free planets and advanced benevolent star nations that are here truly going to battle against a very old empire, and it's balls to the wall, if you can pardon my expression. There is a lot going on out there, and I'm told it's very, very intense. Excuse me, I'm getting over a cold. So that's the other question. The last question that someone answered, and I can't remember if it was Laura or Lauren, if I remember correctly, the question was, can they see, can the A's see into the future or future lives in another dimension? And I answered that question, and I was wrong. I was totally wrong. Okay, and I based my answer on a question that I had asked many, many years ago to Phaseus. Can you see your past lives and your future lives? And he just shook his head at me. And apparently, when he shook his head, it wasn't a no. It was like, I can't believe you even asked that dumb question. So it was probably more the latter than how I interpret it as an answer of no. Well, the reality is they can. However, it is strongly not encouraged. And I was very interested in the answer, so I am going to be sharing that with you right now. And asking Mornay about that. You know, do you see future lives? In their past, which is our future, okay, in their past, there was a time where two generations were so obsessed with looking into the future, their own personal future lives, and those with family members and associates and friends, etc., that that present day culture suffered. It began to break down. And what I mean by that is that very few were in the present. Everyone became obsessed with looking into the future, and they weren't creating a very stable physical system or practicing the law of consistency. And what happened was, by the end of the second generation, they began to see it break down. Now, I don't know exactly what that means, but knowing how meticulous they are, they saw something that they didn't like. So the emphasis from that point on is, okay, if that's something you want to do, they don't encourage it. But everybody has the ability. What they do encourage is the present moment, because that is where you are creating the present. That is where most of your power, intentional power, and strength is in the present time. And those present moments create future realities, especially if you intend to stay within the same culture, the same race. So the emphasis is present time, staying focused in the present, making sure that that's the priority, not making some other time a priority. So I thought that was an interesting answer, and I hate to admit I'm wrong, but I was on that. So there you go. So they do, but they're not obsessive about it. Okay, they realize the importance of being here and now, and focusing your creative, spiritual intent in creating the here and the now, because that's all you own. You can look at the future, but there's no guarantee that what you see is what you're going to get, because you still have to create those probabilities now, here. Okay? So, at least to up the odds, you have to stay here in the present and create and build towards that. So, in talking to a good friend of mine, who's an extraordinary person, and his partner, they're both extraordinary people. He's going through some amazing challenges with his intent in trying to create an opportunity. And one of the things that he brought up was a song by Gordon Lightfoot. And it is it's a song regarding the Edmund Fitzgerald. I think it's the sinking of the Edmund Fitzgerald, and it's a song based on a true story about a ship that sank in the Great Lakes in I think it's 1840s, 1850s, called the Edmund Fitzgerald. And there's a line in there that goes like this: does anyone know where the love of God goes when the waves turn to minutes and the minutes turn to hours? And, I so get that, because there are so many of us who want to see change, want to experience change. And it's just like, God, what is taking so long? It almost appears as if nothing's happening. Well, of course, that's simply never true, because there is never ever nothing happening, okay? Whether you're in the physical or not, there is always movement. There is always something going on. And I get a lot of emails about people who, what's taking so long? Why can't we get into fourth density? Why can't we get into fifth? When can I have contact? When will I find a boyfriend? When will I find a girlfriend? Yada, 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 all this stuff, okay? And I think we're all going through that. And a comment that was made by Morine when we were talking about the questions from last webinar, he casually mentioned as he was leaving, oh, by the way, your brain is now working much faster than the speed of light. So maybe that's why we all think nothing's happening, because our mind is so far ahead of what we're intentionally creating here, or the collective consciousness is moving at, that we're like, hurry up, come on, catch up, let's get going here. So, that's the only explanation that I have. But I thought it was interesting that he said that our brains are working now much faster than the speed of light. That's really good. That's a very, very positive improvement, movement, thing to know, that we have the ability to create things much faster. We just have to be much more clear about what it is that we want, okay, because that's what we're creating. And it's very, very important to keep the contrast in perspective. Now, here in the United States, we have a lot of things going on politically. And this morning, a memo was released regarding the 2016 election. And the proverbial shit hit the fan today. And it's very, very interesting about what's going on. Of the fan that's going on. And if you want to know, it's the FISA memo. It's a pretty big deal here. It's a really big deal. It's a first in that I think anybody is aware of in the history of the United States and in politics, where a political party hired an agent from a foreign country to help them rig a presidential election. Okay, that's a big deal. That's a big deal. So, we're talking about politics. We're talking about spirituality. We're talking about everyday life. We're talking about political correctness. We are talking about, well, political correctness, and I guess is really the best way to go with this. And what happens is, when we come to a place where the ability to completely and honestly express oneself is totally monitored by words that you can or you cannot say, what happens there is that it completely stunts the growth of consciousness. It's almost as if you don't have freedom of expression, or freedom of the press, free will, because you have to stifle those expressions with language you normally would not use, or which meanings do not express what it is that you truly feel or want to say. There is a lot of that going on in the world, and essentially what's happening is that a lot of people are getting very, very frustrated because it puts everybody in this box. And there's no way the things that are happening on this planet, the things that are happening consciously to humanity, the shifts, the changes that are occurring here in third density and in fourth density can be explained by political correctness. It's just not possible. And sometimes you have to call things for what they are. And as a vibration. Now, spiritual evolvement, free expression are very high vibrations. And those represent true freedom. Now, here on Earth, those of us who have been incarnating over and over and over on Earth, we really have forgotten what it's like to be truly free, to truly think free, to truly express ourselves in a completely natural, intentional way without any concern for what anybody else would think. Because of the box that, or maybe the matrix is a better word, the box, the matrix of which we've all had to live in on the surface of this planet, has made it incredibly difficult. And I want you to know that the benevolent races, they're very sympathetic to that. They understand that. Now, not all of them have gone through what we're going through. Some of them have in their ancient past. Some of them may have been alive and they have past life recall, so they understand that. Now it's beginning to take our first steps. In many respects, a percentage of humanity has said, you know what, I'm done with this. We're done with this old system. We're fed up with it. And all attempts to take that old system and repackage it and put a new label on it and call it something else simply isn't going to fly. Okay? Because the dark side, which has offered incredible contrast to everybody, has so completely overplayed their hand that lifetime after lifetime after lifetime, the idea that our brains are now thinking and moving faster than the speed of light clearly shows that we've made this leap. Okay, it is not we've made the leap. Now, all that has to happen is people's consciousness, present consciousness, catching up with spiritual reality. And how that unfolds and how everyone sees that, which will probably be in a different way, but how everyone sees that is the next step. Because, ladies and gentlemen, all of us as souls have come from another place, another space, another frequency. We just don't remember yet, okay? We're all trying to remember. As we step as we walk towards freedom and we recognize it and we understand it and we begin to empower ourselves with not only freedom, but the concept and the ideas that freedom is something that is very precious, that is an amazing gift, that needs to be protected and guarded at all costs. As we move towards that freedom, I am also told that on a spiritual level, we walk back. And I've been sitting with that for a little while because I wanted to see how I felt about it. And it's interesting. There was it was once said to me that all the broken pieces find their way home. Well, home is love. Okay, that was the original intent by whatever creator is. Okay. So I'll let you guys sit with that, and we'll see where we go from there. Okay. Now, a new domain of knowing is being created, and that domain of knowing is moving back towards freedom, is moving forward towards freedom. Now, that new domain of knowing, ladies and gentlemen, is coming from everyone on the planet, consciously or even unconsciously. And Mornay was very clear to point that out to me, that they already can see the new holograph of our consciousness. Okay? And what it's doing is that it's beginning to show itself, to meld into the template, the spiritual template, which they have overlaid our planet. So it's sitting there, and what's happening is that our consciousness is beginning to merge with it. And what happens is as we begin to merge with it and meld with it, we change the frequency of the template to ours. We own the new template. So it's like a guideline, it's like a map. Here's where you want to go, here's where you want to be. Okay, it's right there. You can sense it, and for those of you who have the gift, you can see it, but you still have to do the work because they're not here to save us. And that is what's happening. Our consciousness, this new domain of knowing which we're creating, is merging with the template that they've overlaid, and we're now making it our own. And ladies and gentlemen, that is just spectacular news. Absolutely spectacular news. And when you think about how consciousness is working, and we're thinking quicker and faster and processing, some of us, okay, everybody will eventually catch. We're making this happen. And it's important to know that. It's important to remember that, to think about that every day, that, hey, we as a humanity are getting clearer and smarter and more aware every day. I, Alex, am getting more clear and aware every day. And ditto for all of you, okay? Because we have some real serious challenges coming. Some of them are political. Some of them will be physical regarding the planet. She's going to be going through some changes. But let's talk about the political changes. I don't think anybody can deny that there is a remarkable amount of information that's coming out regarding the dark side, from political corruption to financial slavery, to creating wars, to kill off a portion of the population, to kill off the brightest of people, to create horrible scenarios and then enslave those countries afterwards with debt that they can never repay. The list goes on and on and on. Now, that's a very dark contrast from where most of us are and want to be. But nonetheless, that is all being brought up and put in our face for a reason. And it's not for us to turn our head away and to say, well, I don't want to know anything about it. Okay, that's not how this works. We have to own all of this. We do. And what I mean by that is if we're going to move humanity to the new template, to a higher consciousness, we can't just do it in slices. Okay, well, I want this piece, but I don't want anything to do with that piece. That's not how this works. Okay, we are either one race, one humanity, or we're never going to get there. And what that means is that we all have to have a vested interest and at least seeing has literally created the situation that we have today. And what we have today is we have a cyst, a boil, we have a horrible cancer that has been feeding not only off of humanity as a whole, but has specifically targeted children. Children of our race, of our humanity. And we have to be honest about it. We have to look at it. We have to see it. We have to acknowledge it. And somehow, within each of us, figure out, well, you know, how do I resolve this? How do I participate in the healing of this situation, but at the same time, not get emotionally drawn in to the darkness that it is. So we have to acknowledge that, okay? But at the same time, instead of throwing all of this anger and creating hate and feeding this with hate, what we have to do is we somehow have to come together and learn how to bless this situation. And that's what it is. As those battles are ramping up, as above, so below. We're going to have the same thing in a very different way. We're not going to be in starships, but we're going to have the same thing, intellectual, political, and spiritual all-out warfare here on the surface. And somehow we have to figure out how to maintain calm, how to maintain a place of forgiveness and love and understanding, but at the same time, be absolutely resolute that this will never, ever be tolerated again. And that when we move forward, looking at creating political, and I mean everyone gets vetted, everyone. There is no more taking the media's word for anything. And as you are probably already aware, um, they have very little credibility. Okay? The same goes for governments. You know, governments were created to represent the people. Governments were created to protect the rights of people and the land and the countries. Their job was to be a servant of the people. We have to remember that, and we have to chain them down to a constitution, to a moral obligation that is so ironclad that there's no way it can be overturned. And we have to be vigilant in protecting that and reminding them, yo, you work for us. You represent humanity. All of us. And I don't know what that looks like yet. I'm told that the next 5 years are going to be amazing. And I think I said this last webinar or the one before, that we're going to look back 5 years from now and wonder how we made it through. And because the old way of doing things was absolutely suffocating humanity. And there was no way we were spiritually going to evolve and walk towards freedom and walk back towards love with the system that was in place. The system was set up to be a tick. It's the best expression I can give you. It was a tick, where it latched onto humanity and had sucked everything out of everyone. And it was getting down to the bone marrow. That's all that was left in humanity, was the bone marrow. Okay, we can never, ever, ever let that happen again. And as founding fathers and founding mothers, we need to be resolute from this point on, so that it is crystal clear from this point forward to future generations. You don't ever, ever make these mistakes again. And we have to own it. We have to be crystal clear about it. We need to make sure that they knew exactly what happened and how it happened. Okay, we have to own it, all of us. Our generation, the one before, and the ones coming up. Everyone that's here now, we have to make sure this doesn't happen again. Because in fourth density, you still have duality. Okay? And why would we want to repeat this on a higher dimension? Why would anybody want to repeat this, what we've just been through and going through for the last 4,000 years, 6,000 years, ever since the Nibiru and the Anunnaki, the Orions, the reptilians, however long it's been? Why would any of us ever want to repeat that, any of this part again? Okay, we need to get it. We need to get the lesson. We need to make sure that future generations know what the lesson is. Okay, and collectively, using all of our spiritual knowledge. Now, I say this for a reason. Because, ladies and gentlemen, some of you walking on this planet, whether you're awake or not, your last lifetime, or 2 lifetimes, were in 9th density, 10th density, 11th density, 5th density, 6th density, 7th density. Do you hear me? You were there before you chose to fall back into time and come down here to help on a mission. If the A's can see future, so can we. So can we. We just have to put that into our consciousness and start thinking about it. Start thinking about and awakening that part of our DNA that already knows the future or the probables in the future. Because we're all a holograph, every single one of us. DNA is a holograph, which we create with spiritual intent. You cannot forget that. Okay, we are far more powerful than we realize. And I'm going to keep reminding you guys and myself about that. There is no limit. It's just we're here and we want to be there. Okay, and we want to be there. But right now we're here, third density. But if we change this, we change the whole game. You see? We change the whole game. Because there's a part of you that's here, and then there's a part of you that's on 11, or 10, or 9. You understand? You connect. When you connect to your higher consciousness, to your future, to your, I don't know what the right word is, higher self? I'm not sure what the right word is, but when you connect all of yourself together, you bring those two holographs, those templates of multi-dimensions together. Then you're at one. You are at one with all at that time, in that moment. Now the trick is to try to keep it there. But we all have this capability of doing this. We would have all given ourselves that escape hatch, for lack of a better word. It's just remembering it. It's consciously creating that bridge, that link. And we have to keep reminding ourselves of that so that we can continue to build that spiritual energy, connecting that higher dimensions, those higher dimensions, to where we are in the present time. Because what's going to happen is those energies are going to filter down to us. But what's going to happen is that third density is going to evolve to the fourth and then to the fifth. That's how this is going to work. That's the original intention for sending the Patal here. That's the original intention. That's the mission of bringing us down here, of those of us who chose the mission to come down, was to take third density and move it out, evolve it. Okay? Just move it up. That involves humanity. It involves a lot of other things, which we can probably get into later. But just trying to do something here with the incredibly restrictive energy that's been suppressing everything for so long, let's just focus on that for now, okay? I'm looking at my notes. That's what I'm doing. The merging of, okay, let me back up here. Darkness is the result of expansion. However, the light always fills the void. Now, that's a great expression. I do not know who actually said it first. But first the space is created and then it's filled with light. Well, what we're seeing here on Earth, what we're seeing in our space, the holograph of what we call the Earth experience, is we are seeing an expansion of the dark. Okay, and what I mean by that is we're seeing the darkness itself for what it is. It can no longer hide. And it's done a very good job of hiding for a very, very long time. It's been underneath and seething and ducking behind corners and hiding behind concepts and religions and political correctness and empires and power over others. In physical reality, it's been very, very good at hiding itself. But as we become more aware, as our consciousness expands, what happens is we begin to see automatically more of the holograph. And that's what we're seeing. We're seeing more of the holograph, which is why all of this stuff is being exposed. And it doesn't matter who the first was to see it. None of that matters. What matters is that we see it. And then we make a choice for the benefit of everyone or for the benefit of a few. Now, those who choose for the benefit of a few, you will have an opportunity to become a rock again, somewhere, someplace, some other matrix, to become an ant, cockroach, whatever it is that you want. For those of you who choose for the betterment of everyone, for the betterment of all, there is no limit to your joy, your happiness, your progress, your evolution, your evolvement, and wonder. Okay? No limit to that whatsoever. Let's see. Our DNA is changing. It's interesting how more and more geneticists are coming out and talking about how our genetics, that there is no way specific genomes were fused together. Just never happens in nature. They're discovering more and more information inside our junk DNA, which of course isn't junk. And what they're also beginning to realize with the assistance of quantum physics is that the higher our consciousness rises, we trigger genetic memory. We trigger genetic switches that turn on, which of course gives us gifts, which certain holy books refer to as miracles. We all have the ability to do these things. We all have the gifts to physically heal, to use telepathy. We physically have the tools to do it. It's just that our DNA has been turned off. And as they screwed with our consciousness and got us to reverse ourselves back into fear, what happened was we compressed ourselves into a very tiny little space. Well, now that we're waking up, now that humanity is just like, we're done with this. This does not work. We've had it. We're going to do something different. What's happening now is that people are beginning to empower themselves in a multiple of different ways. And we are beginning to unwind that space, that consciousness, which of course affects all physicality. And as that space gets bigger and we start holding more and more vibration and frequency and begin to see more of the holograph of that which has been hidden from our sight, our DNA will begin to change. Now, I know that there's some talk about, some people have said in exopolitics that we're going to have this huge solar event and it's going to turn on all of our DNA. There are some issues with that concept. And the issues with that concept is, if you are not spiritually awake, what would you do with those gifts? Would you use them to to control others, to do power over others? Would you use them to do harm? You see, that's the issue. That is no longer being tolerated. That is not the future of humanity. And there are a lot of people that are still not awake. Like I said earlier, we're like a very long train. Okay, the engine gets there first, the caboose is the last one to cross this, to go through the station. If something like this happened and our DNA was all turned on, it would be absolute pandemonium, because no one would be mature enough to know what to do with their gifts. And, if you have the ability to heal, you also have the ability to harm. That's an issue, especially considering everything we've already been through as a race. Let's see, what else? Okay, let's see what time we got. The University of Colorado and now NASA are paying attention to the Earth's magnetic field. There is a lot of chatter and concern about whether or not we would have a magnetic pole shift. Now, it's important to note that the magnetic North Pole is nowhere near the actual physical North Pole. Okay, they're off by 20-something degrees, 20 plus degrees. And the same is with the South. Okay, they're not aligned anyway. Is it flipping? Is it fluctuating? Yes, it is. Something is disturbing it greatly. Is it Nibiru? Possibly. Is it coming from a higher dimensional realm? Possibly. Is it being done on purpose to wake humanity up, to cause earth changes? It's anyone's guess. Now, in previous webinars, we talked about how the benevolence had talked about, as Nibiru was going to be passing us, that instead of having the planet grab our magnetic and physical poles and flipping over the planet, that they would put artificial poles in place so we would grab that. I sincerely hope that that's what they're still planning on doing. And then we don't have an issue whatsoever, okay? Because if those are put into place, I would think that the Earth's natural magnetic field will come to some kind of balance and will begin to calm down, because it is now not taking the influence of something else, okay? And it would calm down. So we'll see, okay? I also wanted to talk about the world's financial system. Now, there are a lot of people that are looking for the currency reset. And there are still people that say it's this weekend, this weekend, this weekend, which they've been saying for 11 years now. Okay? And it's interesting, I don't think they fully comprehend what the real issues are here. It is true that many countries are moving from a fiat currency, which means print on demand, to an asset-backed currency, something that has actual real value. And countries are moving into that direction. But you need to understand something, that each of these countries, with the exception of 3, have private central banks that own the currency of these nations. And I'm referring to the Rothschild central bank system. Okay, these central banks go into these countries. These countries contract the central banks to print their currency and to create monetary and economic policy for each of these countries, because they were convinced somehow that they were not smart enough to manage their own country themselves. So that, we're the experts. We control America, we control Canada, we control London, we control France, China, and for a while it was Russia. Well, to an extent, maybe still Russia. Okay, we control these countries, and we can manage your little country as well. And these countries pay interest on their own currency when these central banks print the money for them, which they put into their system, into their economies. Well, those central banks are still in place, folks. Okay, they haven't been nationalized yet, and they haven't been replaced. In order to fully move over to a new currency system, you have to remove those central banks, because they operate in direct contradiction to what it is you're trying to create yourself. Okay, when you start to see central banks nationalized, then you know that the currency reset globally is near. It's not enough just to create your own currency, an asset-backed currency. Okay, how can you have two currencies? One is nothing but paper and ink. How are you going to operate like that? You can't. You have to choose one. Okay, so we're not there yet. There's a lot of movement, but we're not there yet. Two, the United States is going to go through a lot of stuff. And I'm talking to the people here that are Americans. This is Alex sharing this with you. If I were you, I would do whatever I could to buy yourself a few pieces of gold and or silver. Now, historically, the historic ratio of silver to gold forever was 15, 17 to 1. In other words, 15 ounces of silver, 15 to 17 ounces of silver to 1 ounce of gold. Today, it's of course ridiculously lopsided. Okay, for 1 ounce of gold, the ratio is 77 to 79 to 1 of silver. So if you have the wherewithal to buy some pieces of gold, then I would say do that. But if you don't have a lot of money because you're raising a family, then I would suggest that you begin to buy sleeves of silver eagles, old Morgans, whatever it is that you can to tuck away, to keep in an emergency. Even if that means you can't see the webinar or rent the replays, I want you to take care of yourselves and your families first. I would want that no matter what anyway. So I am encouraging you to look into this, and don't dawdle here. You need to make some movements quickly in this arena. Okay, you need to have some. And if it's at all possible, have 50 pieces of silver, 100 pieces of silver, or 1,000 pieces of silver if you cannot afford gold. Now, obviously, you're going to have a place to store the silver. Okay, and the more there is, the more space you need. Where with gold, it's a different story. But most of us are not in a position to spend $1,400, $1,500 on a gold eagle, okay? A $20 gold piece. So I am encouraging you to do that, to protect yourselves, because America's going to change. It's moving in a very light direction. It is moving in a direction that I'm extremely proud of, finally. But we have a great deal of contrast to deal with first. it's going to be a shitstorm. It just is. Here in the United States, it's going to be a shitstorm. And that's because we as Americans forgot to manage our government. We became complacent. We didn't pay attention. We allowed ourselves to focus and get distracted on electronics, on shitty educations, shitty schools, horrible television programming. The list goes on, okay? But there is a shift, a genuine shift in energy that is occurring. And when it comes down to it, the only way we're all going to break free of the cabal, the last domino is going to be the currency. Because I don't see us learning how to live without currency for a while yet. At least I've been told not in my lifetime. So we're going to have to go through this process. And you need to protect yourself, you need to protect your family. Okay, because metals are always going to be money. It always has been, it always will be. It's an asset. Do you understand? It's an unencumbered asset. If you have possession, it is yours. No one can come in and say that that's mine, which they can do with the money, okay? Because it says Federal Reserve note. They can come in and take it. But if you have physical possession, you own it. It's an unencumbered asset. You own it. It's yours. So protect your family, protect yourself. You don't have to go crazy. Do what you can. But consciously make a decision to put some away, and you need to do it soon. You need to think about it and make a decision what you're going to do. Okay? And I want you to protect yourselves. I would want that for you no matter what. All right? Because here in the United States, very soon the Chinese yuan is going to be used for oil contracts. When that happens, the petrodollar, the Federal Reserve note, takes a massive hit. It's coming. Okay? It's inevitable. And the world metals market is called a COMEX. All it's going to take, and this could happen in a single day, frankly, where metal contracts are called and the COMEX can't deliver the metals that it's already sold. That collapses the system. That could happen at any time. Now, if you don't know what I'm talking about, do some research on the COMEX, COMEX. There's a lot smarter people out there who have talked about this and have laid out this scenario for you. But when you look at how the cabal is on the run and how they have controlled and manipulated the entire world and governments with money, and how they still control the money, you're going to want to protect yourself. So please don't dawdle on this, okay? Don't procrastinate. Just do something for yourselves. And JP, I want you to start getting ready so we can do some questions. Let's see. Yeah, so silver. Silver currently is, I think it's like 70 current ratio to gold. Silver is 77 ounces to 1 ounce of gold. That's extraordinary, folks. It's absolutely extraordinary. And you should take advantage of it now because it can change very, very quickly. All right? And, for just a couple $100, you can get yourself 10 pieces of silver. And if some of the pundits are right. If the hedge funds are correct, silver between now and sometime in 2019 could be, $600 an ounce, between $500 and $600 an ounce. Well, now you've got a nice nest egg, okay, and you have real money. Because you have possession. It's not paper and ink with pictures on it, okay? It's real money. It's something that had to be mined from the ground. That's what makes it a real asset. So please, do your own research, but do something to protect yourselves. And the time to do it is now, because as America really begins to free itself, and it goes after these guys, as it goes after this cabal, and make no mistake about it, they're terrified of the United States doing this, because, when this happens, they can do anything to protect, and they will do everything to protect themselves, okay? So you have to protect yourself. Okay, guys. Maybe.
Alex.
Oh, there you are. Hey.
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yes, I hear you quite well.
Little man in the corner. Here I am. Yes. Oh, fabulous.
Big.
From Penny Newman, is there any form of government in the world today that even resembles what the A's have?
No. We don't have anything that even resembles what the Pleiadians have, or those from Sirius A, or Cygnus Alpha, or Perseus, or Alpha Centauri. No, what we have virtually all over the system, even if it's a Buddhist country, you still have the enslavement of people through a monetary system, or government regulations that restrict freedoms. So no, we don't have anything like that. Even the United States, when it was first being founded and it broke away from the British Empire, even that is unrecognizable compared to what these more advanced civilizations are using, which is where the mentorship comes in. Okay, we need an idea, we need a concept, an enslavement of the many. That's not a winning combination. Continue to do something like this, and we're not. Clearly, humanity is making decisions, or has made decisions, to move away from that, to evolve out of that. And it's happening. It is, in fact, happening. It's just that the minutes seem like hours, to quote Gordon Lightfoot.
From Sharon Wallace. I like this question. Hey, Alex, do you know if the Andromedans are in conscious contact with planetary consciousnesses or stellar consciousnesses, given the frequency changes they are involved in too?
Their consciousness is holographic. And what I mean by that is whatever scenario they're in, whatever moment they're in, They don't see it four-dimensionally. They see it fifth-dimensionally. So yes, they would see all of that. Now, when they go to sixth, because they're being mentored by beings in sixth, their vision is altered. They can't see all of sixth dimension because they don't live there. But they do see all of five because their brain capacity sees things, everything holographically. Okay, so they see it all. They see all levels of the existence in fifth. That also would include fourth and third. Seeing fourth and third to them is a walk in the park. Okay, that would be a walk in the park. Which is why they know where all the bodies are buried. You know, who's doing what, where they are, and the intel that is being used to corral these regressive groups is just so solid. I mean, that's the best intel there is. When, you know, you got something here that's third and fourth dimensional, and you got a fifth dimensional intelligence saying, yo guys, here's where they are, this is where they're going to be at such and such a time, because we already see it all. Okay? It doesn't get any better than that. It just simply doesn't get any better than that. So, like I said, the game is over. We are just playing it out. But in playing it out, there's going to be a lot of swings. There's going to be a lot of emotions. There's going to be a lot of contrast. But none of us will forget. Who's ever alive now, none of us will ever forget this. We just have to remember to pass on not only what happened, but the wisdom and the knowledge and the experience that was gained from all of this. Okay? We cannot allow another burning of the Library of Alexandria, where all that knowledge and wisdom about the past was destroyed. We cannot allow a religion, a state religion, I won't mention the Vatican at all, to suppress information and knowledge in its basement, in its cellar, so that humanity knows nothing about it, and it alters history by presenting something that says it's the Word of God, okay? That this is it. He wrote it himself. We can't allow that. This is something we are all invested in. And all of us need to be invested in making sure that future generations are not ever put in the situation we find ourselves in or have found ourselves in. Okay, it would be an enormous disservice. Okay, next question.
Okay, so this is the common I'm sorry, sure you're tired of getting this question. The chemtrails, the bad guys are still running the show. People are getting sick, maybe even being slowly turned into alien poison. Can you ask your guys about this?
That has come up. That has come up, and short of shooting the plane, I don't know how that's all going to play out or when it will come to an end. I think I agree that it has to stop. I do. I agree that it has to stop. Wholeheartedly. But I don't know how that's going to play out or when. I just don't know. I have a lot on my plate. I do. Contrary to popular belief, I have a lot on my plate. Okay? But I will make note of it again, and I will make sure that it makes the notes in the next meeting again. Okay? I mean, guys, I want this done 2 weeks ago. I want it all done 2 weeks ago. So I get it. I do. I do. And I know that everyone is doing the best they can. But it's complicated. You are dealing with a third density reality holograph that is surrounded by a fourth density holograph that is both positive and negative. And now you have the intervention of a fifth dimensional holograph, okay, that is predominantly positive, that is intervening and changing the concepts and philosophy of the fourth density holograph in order for the fourth density holograph to influence the third density holograph. It's complicated, especially when everyone wants to do their own thing, okay? And the civilian populations of those captured third density populations and fourth density populations are just now waking up saying, what's going on? What happened? It's a process. It's a process. So I keep pushing, okay? I will continue to push the envelope, I promise. Because like I said, I want this done. I want this done 2 weeks ago.
So untrustworthy. Why do the beneficents make deals with them?
There are no more deals. There are no more deals. You have to understand that if you were to put yourself in a position of being a benevolent ruler, you would want to do everything you could to teach responsibility to your citizens. You would want them to step into a position of individual power, self-empowerment, and leadership if you are a benevolent ruler. Ideally, okay, that's the model in fifth density, and in some places fourth density. That's the model. That's the standard that already exists. Okay? You would want to give them your whoever you're dealing with every opportunity to step into power and to be responsible and to do the right thing. And you would make opportunities for them to step into it with the hope that that's exactly what they would do. Because that benefits everybody when they do that. There are times, and this is one of them, where you come across a group that is just simply full of shit. They have no intentions of taking responsibility. They have no intentions of doing the right thing. Their consciousness is such that they are addicted to power and addicted to controlling and manipulating others and feeding off of them. Because in order to do that, then they themselves don't have to give up power. And what they don't get, what they will never realize until they wake the hell up, is that you have more power being free and sharing freedom with others and empowering others to be free. That's where there's more power than ever. They don't get it. And I don't know if they've just come in and they agreed to be professional assholes. I don't know. Maybe that's what it is. They've agreed to be professional assholes to force the rest of us to evolve into a higher consciousness. If that's the case, okay. I don't like the plan at all. But that's what it is, okay? They gave them every opportunity. Well, those opportunities are gone. They now realize that that's never going to happen. And, you know, there's the benevolents are smart enough to know, okay, they're not going to get it. It isn't going to happen. We need to do what we have to do now in order to protect the many. And that's exactly what's happening. That doesn't mean they're going to save us. Doesn't mean they're going to rescue us. Doesn't mean they're going to come in and tell us what to do and be gods. No, that is not what this is about. All right? I want to preface this because somebody sent me an article a day or two ago about Ashtar, telling everybody, oh, there's another Earth that's already prepared for you, and we're going to take you off of this one, and we're going to take you on our starships, and we're going to take you to that other planet. Well, why do we have to move? Why is it we the ones that have to leave? No. That's horse shit, okay? That's all crap. The bad guys need to leave. There's only a few thousand of them. They're the ones that have to go. You don't remove us from our home and our planet and leave the bad guys here in control of our home. No. See, ladies and gentlemen, you got to sniff that bullshit out, all right? So forget Ashtar. Sorry. I know I ruffled some feathers again. It's bullshit. I don't know how else to say it. So, what you got next?
Okay, Ashtray Commander. Hang on a second, I lost the page there. Right, okay, so this is an interesting question. From Robert Planner. Do the Andromedans have the ability to travel through space to some other planet that has a different type of atmosphere without using a spaceship?
Okay. Yes and no. Remember, their fifth density. When they travel to unexplored areas of fifth density. Now, I want you to keep in mind that fifth density is 7 or 8 times more expansive than what we think of and know is our physical universe. Okay? They're still exploring and discovering uncharted areas of fifth density. Now, can they time travel within fifth density? Yes. Can they go to other planets in their starships? Absolutely yes. Can they get out of their starship and walk into these other atmospheres without any kind of protective gear on? The answer is no, because collectively they have chosen a specific type of physicality based on the laws and the consent of everyone in those soul groups, whether it's human, whether it's reptilian, whatever it is, that is an agreement within soul groups to take on that physicality. They can't be physical humans in one place and then become a caterpillar in another place. That's not how that works. They would have to have protective gear. For example, us humans, we could handle another E-type atmosphere. But if we go to Titan, which is methane, can we get out of our ships with no gear and survive? Hell no. No, we couldn't do it. Okay? So there are physical limitations, but you can always overcome those with technology. And the same is with fourth, the same is with third. You can't just walk out of a starship that has an ammonia-dense atmosphere where there's no oxygen and expect to survive. Why would you think that? Okay, and no matter how much you willed your DNA to change to adapt to that, that's not how it works. Okay? Otherwise, everybody would be doing it.
So we're at 28. Are you going to be thrown out in a minute?
One more question? Do one more?
Okay. And I think this is an appropriate. appropriate. From Jeff Peterson, when will our Starfleet
It would not surprise me where there would be more open communication and visuals in the next 2 years. A lot of things have to happen down here, though. In order for our space fleet to become ours again and not be owned and controlled and manipulated by private contractors and the cabal, a lot of things have to happen. Because remember this, the governments have suppressed the exopolitics groups. They have suppressed humanity. They have suppressed contactees, abductees, calling us nut jobs, fruit loops, fruitcakes, liars, charlatans, etc. for 70 plus years, while they were not only in contact, but reverse engineering and building their own technology. And someone is going to have to come forward and say, okay, just in the United States alone, there's $120 trillion that's completely unaccountable. Somebody's going to have the cojones to come forward and say, guys, this is where it went. I have to go, guys. There's somebody waiting for me, for the room, I mean. All right, somebody's going to have to come forward. So a lot of things have to come out to lay the groundwork for people to get over it. I think we would embrace it in a heartbeat. We would. But the lying and deceit, that has to be addressed as well.
Thank you so much for watching today's video. If you found it insightful, please like the video, and if you haven't already, please subscribe to our channel and click the bell icon so you don't miss out on future updates. If you have any questions relating to today's video, please also leave them below. We read all the comments and take on board what our viewers have to say about Alex Collier's work. Remember, your support helps Alex Collier's knowledge and the messages from the Andromedans reach more people. If you'd like to support the channel even more, you can give us a super thanks tip by clicking the heart icon with a $sign. It really helps our team bring you more content. Also, be sure to visit alexcollier.org to sign up for our regular email newsletter. It's the best way to stay updated with the latest news, exclusive content, and upcoming live webinars. For the latest insights from Alex Collier, check out alexcollier.live. And if you want to explore over 250 past webinars, head over to alexcollier.tv. Thank you for being a part of this journey and supporting Alex Collier's work. We couldn't do this without you, and we're genuinely grateful for your support. Until next time, stay curious and keep exploring the vast mysteries of our universe. If you would like to see the Andromedan contactee Alex Collier live via video stream, we hold a live online seminar every Friday at 2 p.m. Eastern Time. For more information on upcoming live webinars, please visit alexcollier.org.